Friend! Oh, new friend! Oh, friend! Please be my friend! Oh, friend!
Hello and welcome to Cheap Shot Entertainment. You are the Cheap Shot Nation. I am your host Luke, and we're going to take you through everything that happened in NXT UK this week. Great show for you. A lot of talking in this one. A couple of really good matches. And yeah, it's really gathering momentum, gathering pace, going into the first ever NXT UK takeover in Blackpool in January. So if you want to know exactly what went off and you want to know our thoughts, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, hit that notification bell and click the subscribe button to know when we upload new content to the channel. And without further ado, let's get on with the show. So at the start of the show we see Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey and Wolfgang make their way to the ring, introducing themselves as Gallus. I'm guessing that is the name of their trio, calling out British Strong Style to start with, when we see Travis Banks returning from his minor injury of several weeks to head straight down to the ring to challenge Joe Coffey and Gallus after being succumbed to the overwhelming numbers and the size difference. Mustache Mountain come in to make the save and they clear the ring. Opening segment, further building those feuds between Gallus and the rest of the locker room. Definitely building Gallus up to be the next, or the NXT UK equivalent of the Undisputed Era. Going after everybody, not really caring about anyone other than their own people. And a really good opening segment. So let's move on to the first match of the night. So your first match of the evening is Fabian Aichner versus Mark Andrews. Fabian Aichner, we've seen him on NXT US, we've seen Mark Andrews on NXT US, but Fabian Aichner has now made the transition to NXT UK, going against a staple of the NXT UK division in Mark Andrews in his first match, in his debut match. To start the match, Andrews showcases his speed and athletic style of wrestling, with Fabian Aichner struggling to get a foothold in the match, but manages to start a little bit of his own offense. There's definitely a face versus face dynamic in this match to start with, but he manages to get on top with a wheelbarrow suplex, and from there Aichner does everything he can to continue that momentum. But for everything that Aichner does, Andrews has an answer, including the Stun Dog Millionaire and a couple of spinning whips and all sorts of things from Mark Andrews to Fabian Aichner. Aichner eventually hits a stalling brainbuster, a sort of deadlift stalling brainbuster, which is quite impressive from Fabian Aichner to Mark Andrews. But then he telegraphs a springboard moonsault, and Mark Andrews manages to get out of the way and hits a DDT on Aichner. You can see the frustration in Fabian Aichner's face at this point. Being the much larger, much stronger man in the ring, he would expect to be fully on top, fully in control of Mark Andrews. But we know Mark Andrews is quite slippery. He's very much a Rey Mysterio kind of wrestler, and Aichner struggles to get into this one. But he does eventually assault, turns, you can see that frustration, it eventually overcomes him. He assaults Mark Andrews on the outside of the ring after the dive from Mark Andrews is stopped. And Aichner eventually throws Mark Andrews back into the ring, hits a spinning powerbomb. Mark Andrews cannot answer the call, and Aichner gets a win. 1, 2, 3, clean win after the assault, that is, on the outside, and Mark Andrews picks up a loss. It's not his first one in NXT UK, but a great debut from Fabian Eichner, showcasing his hard-hitting, strong style in NXT UK. We're then going to a backstage segment which is interrupted by the first ever NXT UK Women's Champion. It is Johnny Saint introducing us to his assistant Sid Scala, stating that one man cannot control all of these personalities alone. And like I say, Rhea Ripley interrupts, saying that she's not impressed with the appointment of Sid Scala, pinching his cheeks and basically being a little bit of a bully, which is not cool, but obviously in the face of professional wrestling, that seems to be a thing at the moment, even though they support Be A Star, which is the anti-bullying charity. But there you go, that's WWE for you. You can do one thing and then do something else, and that's what keeps us watching, really, isn't it? Anyway, we're going to move on to the next match straight away. It is a women's division match. It is Nina Samuels versus Isla Dawn. We've seen a lot of Isla Dawn. We've seen a few bits of Nina Samuels. Nina Samuels still hasn't picked up her first win in NXT UK. Isla Dawn, I think, has had one match in NXT UK. Came up short in that match, debut match. But Isla Dawn shows what she's made of in this contest, picking up the win against Nina Samuels after hitting her finisher, which is like basically a power slam on Nina Samuels after some back and forth action from the pair. Very short match, but again serviceable for the women's division. Moving on, I can't see any of these two ladies being in the main event picture for the women NXT UK Women's Championship anytime soon. They're going to need some more building up before anything like that happens, in my opinion. I could be wrong, who knows. But yeah, Isla Dawn picks up her first win on NXT UK quite impressively. Also, check back on Cheap Shot Entertainment as well, because I've heard that Isla Dawn stars in a horror movie called The House of Imp, and I fully intend to try and find that horror movie and watch it and give a review right here on Cheap Shot Entertainment. And moving on to the next match, features Eddie Dennis. 2 weeks in a row we see Eddie Dennis, which is cool. I love Eddie Dennis. And he is going against the plucky young Irishman known as Tucker. We've seen Tucker a couple of times, again struggling to get momentum in NXT UK in the grand scheme of things. Eddie Dennis, on the other hand, has not lost a match yet, and it doesn't end here. Dennis is absolutely dominant in this match, showing his stature, showing his strength, showing his speed and his aggression in this match. Tucker cannot get hardly any offense in, using that cravat lock that we've seen Eddie Dennis use previously, which is like a sleeper hold sort of thing that Eddie Dennis puts on, like a $1 million dream sort of move. Hits the 7 bridge after Dennis catches Tucker coming off the top, hits the 7 bridge, plants him with his finishing move, with his neck stock driver, and again, short match. Eddie Dennis absolutely dominant. In the grand scheme of things, this is a good momentum turner for Eddie Dennis. Not so great for Tucker, unfortunately, but someone's got to win, someone's got to lose, and in my head, Eddie Dennis is moving on to bigger things again, perhaps a NXT UK Championship match with Pete Dunne at some point in the future. Only time will tell. Your winner in this match is Eddie Dennis. 4 wins, no losses for Eddie Dennis is going to happen eventually, and we're going to move on to the main event. And so your main event for this episode of NXT UK features Flash Morgan Webster, the Mod Father, the former Kings of Flight champion in Hope Wrestling here in the Midlands area of the United Kingdom, versus Jordan Devlin, the longest reigning Irish champion, two-time entrant to the UK Championship tournament. That's it. I was going to say the Mae Young Classic, but obviously not. Why? Who knows? In 2019 you might get a crossover. But Jordan Devlin, yeah, showing everything that he's about. Only suffering one loss, and that was a high stakes loss to Pete Dunne. Comes out saying that in the backstage interview, saying that he saw something in Pete Dunne's eyes that he's never seen before, and that is fear. He nearly got Pete Dunne, and he nearly became the UK champion in that match, and it's probably the closest Pete Dunne's come to losing that championship in recent memory, actually. And he's done a really good job of defending that championship since NXT UK became a regular thing on the WWE network. So Jordan Devlin looking to continue his momentum, start his momentum again, going for that UK championship. And the early part of the match sees an exchange from Devlin and Webster. Sees Webster come out on top of that early exchange. Devlin retreats to the ropes at this point, breaking up any momentum that Morgan Webster had early on in the match. Hits a backstabber on Webster, and this turns the tide in favour of Jordan Devlin, and there's a high angle backbreaker as well from Devlin. Devlin then slows the pace down, hits Webster with several moves. Devlin picking Webster apart slowly, limb by limb by limb. Webster hits a flying knee straight out of the corner, tries to tip the momentum, but can't follow up due to the damage sustained by the early offense of Jordan Devlin. He continues his comeback with a super Hurricane Runner from the top rope, and Devlin then doesn't take long for him to come back and get back on top of Morgan Webster. There's a near fall outside of the ring. Webster hits a corkscrew back body block drop, and Devlin then follows up with a senton attempt. Knees go up by Devlin from the senton from Morgan Webster, and Devlin hits the Island's call for the win, continuing his momentum onto possibly his second title shot against Pete Dunne for the UK Championship. Morgan Webster obviously showing here that he is on the cusp, he's on the very edge of getting into that title picture, but with the likes of Eddie Dennis, Jordan Devlin and others around him, including the Coffey Brothers and Wolfgang, and Tyler Bate, you can't forget him, but obviously he's going for the tag team championships at the moment, and of course you can't forget Zach Gibson as well. The main event title picture is looking really good at the moment in NXT UK, and I cannot wait for that inaugural NXT UK takeover. And if it's anything to go by watching NXT takeovers in the US, then this one should be an absolute, quoting Jim Ross, barn burner in Blackpool. So yes, your winner in this match is Jordan Devlin, and he goes over Flash Morgan Webster for the win. So this week's NXT UK has furthered storylines. It's got momentum back for Jordan Devlin. We've seen Eddie Dennis continue his winning streak on NXT UK, using his new attitude to his advantage. Sid Scala has been appointed to the assistant to the general manager Johnny Saint, and a lot of things have happened to move and drive storylines forward to the first ever NXT UK takeover. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to back body drop that subscribe button. Hit a flying knee on that notification bell to know when we upload more videos and new content to the channel. And share us with your friends. and don't forget to leave a comment down below to let us know what you think of the videos. Always looking for ways in which we can improve going into 2019. We're already in 2019. At the early part of 2019, we've got a lot of wrestling to go to. We've got a lot of wrestling to watch and a lot of wrestling to review. So join that revolution. You are Cheap Shot Nation. I have been your host, Luke, and I will see you next time. Goodbye. Delete, 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 delete.